Cambridge has been a centre of learning for more than 800 years. But time, as this unusual clock reminds us, marches on. And the university knows it has to build for the 21st century and beyond on these ancient foundations. It's one of the most recession-proof cities in Britain. And according to university figures, there are more patents generated in Cambridge per 100,000 head of population than in the next 6 British cities put together. Highly qualified graduates come from all over the world to study, and in doing so they support Cambridge and the UK's success. But postgraduate life can be isolating. The university has realised it needs to support these skilled and desirable people.
The North West Cambridge development is about much more than buildings. It's about creating a social and intellectual environment which is welcoming not only to our students and postdocs but also to their partners and their families, because many postdocs particularly do arrive with partners and children, and so we need to look after the entire package.
And this is what the North West Cambridge development should look like in a few years' time. A family-friendly community where postgraduate and postdoctoral researchers can make friends, relax and feel at home, and hopefully not be lured away to other top-flight universities. The development is on greenbelt land and has to achieve level 5 of the government's Code for Sustainable Homes. Water reuse is key.
The university, being what it is ambitious and wanted to ensure that this is an exemplar scheme. So in addition to looking at what we had to do to achieve the water requirements within the Code Level 5 designation, we looked at what more we could do to actually improve the situation overall. From a technical standpoint, a lot of the water requirement within Code Level 5 can be provided for within houses themselves in terms of catching water, retaining water, cleaning water. But of course that comes with the requirement to put in rather complicated kit.
It's still pretty early days here in Cambridge, but as you can see, there's already a lot going on. This will eventually be the main road leading into the development. They'll then move on to building large lagoons, which will trap stormwater. It'll be treated and pumped back into houses for things like flushing the loo. Eventually, this will mean that people on this development will use a lot less water than those outside the area.
I think the university has gone into that with open arms, because it recognises that Cambridge has real issues with water stress. So we're looking to reduce the overall water use on the site from 150 litres per person per day, which would be typical for a Cambridge resident, down to 80, so nearly halving the amount of water a typical resident would use on the site. And I think that's really important for this development.
Housing development is an energy-intensive business, and in some cases, so is water reuse. The carbon you need to expend to treat and pump the water has led some environmentally minded housing developers to question whether water reuse schemes are the most sustainable way of reducing overall water consumption.
We found exactly what you've said, which is that they do have a higher carbon content usually than the mains water. I think that's not necessarily the case in areas where maybe they're doing desalination. So in London, there's a high carbon content of the mains water system, and so I would say rainwater harvesting systems are definitely, from a carbon point of view, better there. I think carbon isn't the only thing. Cambridge has a water problem, and if we do have to expend a little bit more energy to deal with that, then perhaps that's worth it. And I'd say that's the case here.
Cambridge Water was founded by the university 160 years ago, and the company encourages developers to consider alternative sources of water in this water-stressed area. The company will be taking on the management of the scheme, and customers here will be charged both for the fresh water and the reused water they've consumed.
Water reuse has quite an effect on public health. And there are always chances for cross-contamination between reuse water and potable water. So having a developer like the university who are in it for the long term is quite important, so that we can concentrate on maintenance and ensuring cross-connection and other things don't get put in the long term. This scheme the roads will go down, the infrastructure will go down, be here for 100, 200, 300 years. If in 40 or 50 years' time we're short of water, then digging up all the roads to put in a secondary water supply system from water reuse doesn't appear to me to be the best way forward, which is why Cambridge Water's strategic direction statement was to encourage developers to think about this now.
Of course, the scheme would not have succeeded without the support of the local authority, and City Council officials were impressed by the detailed evidence.
It had a lot of technical information associated with the application. It was taking what is considered best practice not only in the UK but across the world. It was utilising that water-sensitive urban design approach. It was integrating it into the landscape and just providing a fantastic scheme for the future community.
The university is over 800 years old. We've been here a long time and we intend to be here for another 800 years. So we are long-term owners, long-term managers of the whole estate. So we can afford, when we are building, when we're creating a new development, to think in the long term. We're employing what you might call patient capital. We're not like a developer who is building and then leaving within a couple of years. If you take that perspective, it changes your view on the quality of architecture you can afford, the quality of landscape planning, and enables you to think about, for example, water management in a long-term way.
It's clear that there was a unique set of circumstances and support that allowed this scheme to get off the ground. However, everyone involved in the North West Cambridge project hopes that their experience and the lessons learned will help others who may be contemplating water reuse schemes.